Deep in the northern hills of Myanmar, communities are living under constant threat. Families are displaced, supply lines are severed, and moving goods into this last-mile conflict zone is a logistical nightmare. When supply chains break, the local economy buckles under inflation. Acquiring the basics becomes a daily struggle. At this local market stall, 3 individual tomatoes cost $3.50. Not a kilo, just 3 pieces. When a handful of vegetables costs a significant portion of a day's wages, the math is simple. Every penny is allocated to keeping the body alive. The assumption is that survival in a conflict zone is purely biological, leaving no room for goods that don't provide calories or shelter. Last week, a sales coach ran a webinar with residents from the northern hills to the southern delta to share survival strategies. They asked the audience a simple question: what is the most in-demand business in your area right now? You might expect them to say clean water, basic rations, or emergency medicine. Instead, the locals reported that the skyrocketing demand in their community was for hair and makeup services. This creates a paradox. We have to understand why people facing starvation would prioritize beauty services while fighting to survive. The locals explained that makeup is a tool for psychological endurance. In the hardest times, people use these services to feel human and maintain their dignity. When conflict creates chaos, maintaining daily routines is a way to reclaim control. People continue to hold weddings, gathering in traditional ceremonial attire to celebrate life, even as the environment around them remains unstable. They also continue to gather for monastery donation events. These rituals are a priority because they reinforce community bonds. These traditions act as the load-bearing pillars of the community, preventing the social fabric from tearing apart. Preserving these cultural markers is an active resistance against the erasure of their identity. You see this in the traditional Myanmar marionette. Even in a conflict zone, the intricate red and green sequins of the puppet's outfit are maintained. This preservation is a collective effort. Residents hang these puppets wherever they can find space, ensuring their heritage remains visible. Resilience is the act of thriving when conditions should only permit breathing. It is the insistence on living with dignity in the harshest environments. The demand for beauty and tradition is a defiance of a conflict that attempts to strip away their humanity. This observation from Myanmar provides a different perspective for anyone building operations in last-mile or conflict economies. The traditional playbook assumes a strict sequence, where physical needs must be met before emotional needs are addressed. This field intelligence suggests that the hierarchy of needs is not a vertical sequence. In practice, survival and dignity function as parallel requirements. When impact models ignore the need for dignity, they fail to account for how people in crisis actually distribute their limited resources. The data shows that the emotional drive to feel human is just as urgent as the physical drive to stay alive. Recognizing the role of dignity reveals market opportunities that are often overlooked by traditional aid or business models. For an impact product to succeed, it must fulfill a dual mandate: keeping the body alive and keeping the person's sense of self intact. Businesses typically enter these regions asking, what do people need to survive? But to create lasting value, they must also ask, what helps them feel alive? True resilience is found at the intersection of physical necessity and the demand for human dignity. That's where the real market for impact is born.